Now if you've got questions in life, what do? Ask Keith and Derek. Hi and welcome to Ask Keith. Here we are, lockdown and the coronavirus. Because of the lockdown, I've asked my neighbour to actually join us, and so he's living with us during the lockdown because I didn't want him to be out there on his own. And so I want to introduce you to Derek. Hello everyone. And so I've started a new series. It's called Ask Keith, and God and the coronavirus is what we're looking at. And obviously Derek's joining us, so if you want to post some comments and you want to ask myself something or even ask Derek, why don't you just send some comments and we'll see what we can do as we look at the coronavirus. Okay then, here we go. What I wanted to look at is, with this coronavirus, how does isolation actually affect us? What sort of things will we be going through? And does God have anything to say about this? What do you think, Derek?
Well, I've read the Bible before.
Yeah. And do you think God has something to say?
God has something to say about absolutely everything.
Well, yeah, that's true. And so what I want to have a look at is, what do you think, Derek, is the hardest thing about isolation right now? You found yourself, when your wife passed away, without somebody, how did you manage to get through that?
Well, I was never really in isolation, you see, because I'd go out during the day and friends would come round and neighbours, so it wasn't quite like, isolation, but it's good of you if you invite me if I come round and stay here. Are we having a brew now?
We just had a brew, Derek.
Yeah, but I'm spitting feathers here.
Right, okay. Let's just get on with this and then we'll get something to eat and drink a little bit later.
Oh, goodness me.
Anyway, we're looking at God and the coronavirus, and here we are, Ask Keith and Derek. And, I don't know what people out there think about God. But what I want to do is I want to look at the real evidence for God. And it says evidence is that which tends to prove or disprove something. And it's a grounds for belief, it's real proof. And so when I speak about God, I'm not speaking about a pie in the sky idea and someone who we can't come to know in a real way. I'm speaking about someone who is very real and you can come to know. And there is evidence not only for the Bible but for God himself. So during this series I want to look at stuff like that. And you're going to help me, aren't you, Derek?
I'll try.
Anyway, what I want to look at first of all is there evidence for God's existence? And we're going to look at a passage in the Bible, and after when we finish that passage I'm just going to comment on what I think is real evidence that the things that we've read and looked at actually happened and took place. That'd be good, wouldn't it, Derek? So, let's not forget, we have to act like a detective. Would you like to act like a detective during this, Derek? It looks like you've got some kind of hat, which is good. Elementary, my dear Watson. Sorry, I mean Derek. And so, let's look at that, shall we? I believe that the Bible is helpful. And so I want to look at how can the Bible help us during lockdown and isolation. And so I want to actually look at some of the things that we'll actually probably go through and experience. And isolation and confinement can have such negative psychological effects on anyone. And so over a period of time, we don't know when this isolation is going to stop. But if you're not knowledgeable of the kind of things that you'll be going through and the experiences and the emotions, then you might even struggle. And so, first of all, depression actually gets a hold of us because of the intense isolation that we're in, especially if you're on your own. And that's why we invited Derek to come and stay with us. And so, you've got to be actually aware and prepared to actually see these kind of things in your life and say, do you know what? It's because I'm isolated. I can see that's why I'm down. That's what's affecting me. But it's more than just that. Because of your depression, you become more and more isolated. And so you don't want to talk to people, which would actually get you out of depression, and that makes it worse.
Yeah, it's like a vicious circle, isn't it?
Well, I suppose it is a vicious circle, because it kind of like, one thing leads it to another, and then it actually affects the other, and you can't get out of it.
Yeah.
But it's other things as well. You've got like, you can have anxiety and panic attacks when you read what's actually occurring next in the news, when you see that isolation is probably getting worse rather than better, or you're hearing of local death rates, or maybe even someone in the street, or maybe even someone you know is affected with the coronavirus. So all these things are going to have you, in a sense of ready to just fall apart and panic because of it.
I had a panic attack before.
You had a panic attack?
Yeah. I thought that I'd not put oven on, but I did.
So you had a panic attack?
Yeah, because I was hungry. I wanted a pizza.
Right, okay. But we also have becoming paranoid. And especially with all the kind of conspiracy theories which are going on right now, you can actually become paranoid thinking, is this it? Is this the end of the world? Oh no, what does the Bible say? And so later on in the series, we're going to look at things like that. And so stay tuned if you want to see what kind of things we're going to look at there. But we also don't want to develop a negative self-esteem. And you can feel at the end of all this that your life is not worth anything, that you are not worth anything, and life has no meaning and purpose anymore. But we want you to stay positive and focused. So we want to look at the Bible and where that can help in these areas. Don't we, Derek?
Yeah.
Now then, here's someone I would call a scientist. Andrew Sims. He was the president of the Royal College of Psychiatrists. And this is a quote from his book. The advantageous effect of religious belief and spirituality on mental and physical health is one of the best kept secrets in psychiatry and medicine generally. If the findings of the huge volume of research, now look at that, it's a huge volume of research on this topic, and if these findings have gone in the opposite direction and it has been found that religion damages your mental health, it would have been front page news in every newspaper in the land. And when you think of that, this is a top scientist, a top psychiatrist in his field, the biggest person, saying things like that. That the Bible, that having a faith and connecting spiritually to God has huge advantages for your mental health. And that's the kind of thing that we want to promote during this isolation. So we would actually say to you, why don't you check out the Bible? If you've got a copy, dust it off, dig it out. Anyway, what I want to look at now is Peter. Peter was one of Jesus' disciples, and the reason why I want to look at it is we're here Easter Saturday, and a big event had just occurred for Peter. It was the death of his master, his Lord, the one person, his friend, that he was really counting on and expecting great things from. And if we look at Peter and his life and just a few things, it should help us because he actually went through a period of isolation. And what I want to look at is what the Bible says. It says that Peter insisted emphatically. How about that? He insisted, look, I'm telling you, even if I have to die with you, I will never disown you. That's what he said. And all the other disciples said the same thing, but here we have Peter saying that emphatically when he was talking to Jesus, because Jesus was talking about what was going to happen to the disciples afterwards. And when you think about that, there was things leading up to the coronavirus that we was all probably emphatically insisting would happen and what we would do, and some of the things that would be going on in our lives, and all of a sudden our world is turned upside down, just like Peter's world was turned upside down. And one of the things that is that he went on to disown him. And the reason is because fear can be paralyzing. It can really, really change who you are, fear. And here you have this great big guy, Peter. And he was a big guy.
Yeah, he was a fisherman.
He was a fisherman. He was a big, strong guy, And it was quite manual, the kind of work that he was doing. And here he is denying Jesus. And you've got to look at the coronavirus in a similar kind of way. Here we are in a world of fear, and people are placed in a situation or scenarios where they can't do what they would love to do. And this paralyzing fear is taking over people's lives. We just want to have a look at that. It says in the Bible, a young man, and this was when Jesus was being arrested now, and Peter was probably with them, but it says that a young man wearing nothing but a linen garment was following Jesus. And so they just arrested him, and they were taking him off. And when they tried to seize this guy, he fled naked, leaving, his garment behind. So he's a bit like, come here, you was one of them. Hey, get off. That's my golfing jumper that cost a fortune. But can you imagine that, having your clothes ripped off you, and you're struggling trying to run away to get away from me, and he's actually ripped all your clothes off trying to get hold of you and seize you. But this shows the kind of fear that these disciples were going through. They were fearful of their lives because they thought, if I get caught, then I'm going to die. And here's Jesus going to the cross, and obviously he went to the cross and died. But I want to speak about Peter because, it was a bit like, do you want to die as well? And these kind of thoughts must have gone through his head. He was a loved one that was being taken away from him. What was he to do? Was he to stay at his side? Was he to remain faithful? Or was he to back off in fear that if he went too close, he would die also? And a lot of people are probably like that. There's another scripture. And what I'm thinking about isolation is this. How does God view you? What does God say to you? You might think that your life has no value and worth, and Peter probably felt that his life had no value and worth. What he was aiming to do was all destroyed. There was no hope. It was a bleak time, and he'd actually disappointed the very one that he loved. And when that person died, he wasn't there at his side. And then came a message. And the message was to go and tell, the disciples that Jesus was alive. But it included Peter. And when I thought about that, this and Peter, it was because if someone came and said something positive to me, knowing the bad things that I've done, I would probably exclude myself from the rest of the group and think that I wasn't worthy. But that's one great thing that we see, is that even in isolation, if you feel that you're not worthy when it comes to God, God says that you are, no matter what you've done wrong. And so I wanted to bring that in because a lot of people may have gone to church, stopped going to church. They may have called God. They may have spoke and said, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God. Whatever they've done, God is still there for you during isolation. And he's still thinking of you, no matter what you've said or done towards him.
But do you know what I noticed when I was reading the Bible? It was saying about some women were watching from a distance. And we talked about that, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. But one of the things that I noticed, it mentions this centurion who was like... It was like the army was there, and they were stopping people getting to those being crucified. And it says there's the centurion who stood there, when he saw how Jesus had died, and you know, when he saw the sky going black, and obviously he's guarding him all through this, and he's right near and he can hear what Jesus is saying. And you know, there was an earthquake as well, it says, and all this took place right at the point when Jesus was dying on the cross. And do you know what his answer was? This centurion, this guard, actually said, surely this man was the Son of God. And what I want to mention about that is that for him, the evidence of what he was seeing around him, the earthquake, the sky going dark, how Jesus responded to his death and the people around him and that, convinced him. That was the evidence. It convinced him that this was the Son of God. And so the reason why I wanted to mention this centurion is that his job was to keep people back. And when we look at isolation, there will be people who are in hospital but their relatives can't get close. There's a guard there that is stopping them and they can only look on at a distance. And how sad is that? These women that were looking on, Jesus' own mother looking on and seeing her son die before her eyes.
So Jesus died on a cross. It was like the coronavirus, wasn't it? His relatives and his disciples couldn't be with him and help him.
Yeah, that's right. This crucifixion was something that, you know, you couldn't allow anyone get near them. I mean, can you imagine a huge crowd taking someone down off the cross and overrunning the Roman guard? They weren't going to have anything like that. Everyone had to stand off, and there was a whole bunch of people seeing this, a whole bunch of people who witnessed it. But what I'm trying to say is, if you think God has nothing to say in your pain and your suffering and what you're going through, then he does. Why? Because his very own people, the mother of Jesus, the pain and the agony that she must have felt. And even Jesus acknowledged her from the cross and said, will you look after my mum? And that was his heart, and that's the heart of God. You know, he knows how much that physical closeness and touch and love is necessary during times of departure. But the coronavirus, like the crucifixion, strips us of all that. And it must be soul destroying.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So, how do we actually stop ourselves going mad during the coronavirus? There's got to be something that we can do.
Well, I was thinking that we could play golf, because I like golf.
Oh, goodness me, Derek. We're not playing golf. He's tried playing golf in the house. Anyway, what can we kind of like do? Well, number one, you could do something like, I don't know, DIY. You could even do some gardening. You know, there must be some jobs around the home that you can do. And everyone, if you've not got a garden, maybe you could make one, start one. I don't know, but there's got to be something that we can do just to, you know, keep us occupied, keep our minds occupied. Maybe, no, Derek, what have you done? We are not playing golf. Sorry, Derek. Anyway, you know, maybe you could read. That would keep your mind occupied. But, yeah. Try reading a book, maybe with a little bit more effort to get through it.
Oh, like reading the Bible.
Well, that's it. If you read the Bible, it might help you through these terrible times. So, maybe you can try calling someone and, you know, enjoy FaceTime.
I can't use my phone, I can't. Oh, it does my head in.
Well, you know, just talking to someone. Maybe you could just talk through a window at someone in the street. You know, but if you can use your phone, it's a great thing to actually help you to communicate and talk to someone so you're not lonely and isolated. So, to finish off, your country needs you. And your country needs you to stay safe. And how are you going to stay safe? By staying inside. And please, think of others during this coronavirus. So, don't forget, share this video, please share. Let's see if we can get 100 views and maybe a couple of likes, and let's see what the comments are. Thanks for watching.